Welcome back to the Wrong Advice Podcast. I'm your host, John Pacciuto, and I'm very excited to have my new friend, Lauren Parrish, on the line with me today. Lauren, how are you?
I'm great. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you. How about you introduce yourself really quick to the listeners?
Sure. I am let's see, I'm a mom of two. One's in college, one is 10. So it's a big difference. I work full time. I am a beauty sales consultant, so to speak. I'm a market development manager for a professional hair color brand. So it's really fun. It's very fancy and colorful job.
That's cool.
And my husband and I have been married almost 10 years and no, 12, 13, something like that. Oh my gosh, my kid's 10, so you got to do the math there. And we have two crazy dogs and a cat. We live on a lake in Texas, so our pastimes are out on the lake, and I am also a yoga instructor. So, boom, a little
Boom.
bit about me.
I love that. How did you make your way to Texas? Where did you grow up?
I grew up mainly in Texas, in the Houston area, and then our family migrated to the Dallas Fort Worth area and have been there ever since. I did mention to you that I grew up or lived in New Jersey for just a smidge of my life.
Probably the best
And
smidge would be my guess.
yes, it was beautiful. I do remember just beautiful things about it. And I loved the snow because it's definitely something we don't get um, in Texas, except for when we had our snowpocalypse, I guess,
Oh, yeah. Was that
earlier
last
this
year?
year.
Yeah.
Earlier this year.
Oh my God. Wait, that was 2021. Wow. I guess
Yes,
COVID
it's been a
has
long
has done a number. Yeah. My
year.
goodness.
Yeah,
That felt like 5 years ago.
right. For sure.
So tell me a little bit about like kind of your upbringing. You went to kindergarten in New Jersey, ended up in Texas. Like, what was kind of your path from like high school to college to, hair care specialist, beauty
Yeah.
sales manager, mom of two, dog mom of two, etc.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm also, I'll have to say I'm one of five, no, one of seven children.
Oh
So I
wow.
have, when I grew up, there was five of us, four girls and my poor brother right in the middle. A lot of chaos, instant family. Your family were your best friends, and never a dull moment. So we didn't grow up very privileged. We didn't realize we were super poor until we got older. We were like, wow, it was a great childhood, but wow, looking back. And no, it was great. Houston, just a, kicking around type of kid. We didn't get to do a lot of extracurricular activities. Not really a sports kid or anything like that. And then once we moved to the Dallas area, high school, I was able to get into drill team and dance and all things shiny and fun,
Nice. Like
which
all
is,
like pre-game, halftime performances and stuff like that.
yes, absolutely. So very Texas tradition, the cowboy hats, the cowboy boots, that's what you wore like out on the field, the big mums for homecoming. Not a lot of people are familiar with how Texas tradition goes. It's pretty fun. And my mom remarried, so then I had another sibling, which is, adds to the numbers. And then I ended up being, I guess you would call it a uh, what do you want to say? I wouldn't say teen pregnancy. I was 19 when I got pregnant. I was in college
Hmm.
and I turned 20 when I had my son. And so, young mom, but I kept to it. I got my degree eventually, but it is the longer path than most people take. And it was, junior college, then actual big girl college, but I did it online. And that was like before online college was a thing. Um, but it's actually at a local college that my son now goes to. So it was pretty
Oh,
cool to see him now go to my alumni, or I'm the alumni and he's now there, and it's really fun. So
that's so cool. That will talk
I'm
about
just
like
really
a
proud of him.
cyclical moment.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I came full circle. It's only about an hour away from where we live. So he is living it up, loving life, and, doing what I wanted to do is to go to college like all my friends did. And so I'm kind of living vicariously through him right now. Yeah.
That's awesome. Um, Give me like a little bit of context. So I would imagine I'm 35. I'm not entirely sure how old you are, but when we were, I'm assuming we're somewhere in the realm of the same
Yes, I'm
age.
39. I'm
Okay,
like,
cool. Yeah.
what, how old am I? 39. Yeah.
So like quote unquote teen mom wasn't a thing when we were kids. That was like a college kind of show. Did you have, I mean, I know, so I went to school in West Virginia, and like pretty much everyone I knew that I went to school with was like married before we graduated and or had kids like at a super, super young age. If it wasn't,
Really?
oh yeah, oh yeah. West Virginia was, it was really interesting. It was, it's only 6 hours away, but at times it felt like a completely different world. um,
Right.
but was there any commonality with that in terms of like your age group of friends? Like, did other people have kids young, or were you kind of one of the only people?
I was one of the only ones. There's not a lot that did. Like all my friends now are just now like having children later in life in their late 30s. So I was definitely kind of the oddball out, and it was like unexpected for me because they were like, "Wait, you?" Like they expected it out of my sister, or like one of my other friends, but they didn't expect it out of me. But you know what? I think it's made me a stronger person, and um, my son is just an amazing kid. So fingers crossed, I did okay.
You know,
Um,
I have a very good friend who I actually went to college with who had a very similar experience. Had a son at like 16 or 17, like just before graduating college and coming to West Virginia, and we happened to be neighbors. And I was like, man, we had class together, and she's pushing a stroller around. I was like very confused by everything, being a dumb, naive 18, 19-year-old kid.
right,
And, listen, I'm not saying that every person who's thrust into that position thrives, because there are a ton of mitigating and, extraneous circumstances that can
right.
inhibit that. But, I think the single mom thing can be an okay thing. I think, when you get into a situation where you have someone who's, relying upon you,
Dependent on you.
yeah,
Yeah.
it oftentimes kind of works itself out. It's trial by fire.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, we grew up together, and then later down the line, I think he was about in kindergarten when I met my husband, and he had two kids already, so divorced and, unconventional kind of instant family that we had because his son was just like a year younger than mine. And yeah, we've been together ever since. So that was in 2009.
That's awesome.
And uh, and our daughter is going to be 11, oh, wait, like next week.
Oh
So
wow.
she's super excited. That's a fun age.
Yeah,
And yeah,
it's
it's
a
been
good
fun.
time of year to have kids. I feel like it's Valentine's Day is why there's so many kids born.
Yep.
Both my
You,
nieces are a week apart. Lily's birthday was 6 days ago, and my niece Mariella's birthday is in November 5th, so a few
yeah,
days. So
November 6th.
they're all Valentine's Day babies.
Valentine's baby. That is funny that you picked that out. So yeah, definitely Valentine's baby. And her middle name is Love.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, but it is a family name, so it's not like we just like thought it was cute,
Cute,
and
yeah.
it just kind of it all goes together. So yeah.
That's
And
awesome.
then I guess along the lines, when I right out of high school, because I didn't get to go to college like all my friends, I went to junior college since I did have a child, but I worked for a food distributor and I sold or customer service, worked my way up to selling food. And I used to say I sold green beans, to restaurants. Super fun gig. You're talking to chefs all day, helping them with their menus, selling them French fries, and doing meat tastings, and just very exciting type of a. I mean, it's working in the restaurant business, but not really having to work in the restaurant business. I
Hmm.
worked there for about 8 years. And then I moved my way to, I was like, okay, what do I like to do? My mom was always in the beauty industry. She was a makeup artist ever since I could remember. And she was the kind of mom that was like, wait, don't leave the house. You need more lipstick on. Or wait, let me fix your eyeliner. She would add more makeup to us, whereas my friends' moms would be like, take that off.
That's so funny.
So I just always grew up with makeup in my life and would freelance for her. So I would do makeup, if she had a big an event, something like that. So was very good at it, loved it. So I thought, okay, if I like sales and I like makeup, there's got to be a job that does that, selling beauty things. And then that's kind of where I found beauty sales. in the niche of selling to hairstylists. So it's just a really interesting way I found my, you know, career path.
It's funny how the things that we end up like growing up with slash loving turn into our, kind of careers and livelihoods. Um,
Yeah.
because I saw a little backstory on me. I worked in corporate America pretty much my entire life. And then about a year and a half ago, COVID started. I had a job. I got laid off 6 months in. And then I was like, Jesus, what the hell do I want to do with the rest of my life? Because it's certainly not being at the whim of someone else telling me what I can and can't do, and yada yada
Yeah.
yada. And here we are, a year and a half later, and kind of knock on wood, I've got everything I've always wanted from a career perspective in photography, and this podcast to some extent, although this doesn't make me any money, but
Right. But it gives you joy in other ways.
it does,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's funny how, when I was growing up, I never realized until my parents moved and we were cleaning out their house that I took so many pictures on disposable cameras as a kid. And my parents never really reminded me of that when I got into photography in the last couple of years. And I just thought it was funny how the things that we're interested in at a young age kind of eventually bring their way back into our lives as we get older, which
Absolutely.
is
Yeah, it
such
comes
a
full
treat.
circle. Yeah, that's awesome. So then you do photography as well as this then.
Yeah, yeah. So pretty much my days are filled with headshots and brand shoots and product photography and taking as many pictures as I like, selling prints and booking as many of these hour-long delightful conversations as I can have, because I think I was blessed with having like a very shitty but wonderful year and a half, right? Like I did a
Yeah.
tremendous amount of internal self-worth, work and figuring out the things that were important to me. And I think COVID probably did that for a lot of people. There was an opportunity for us to sit at home and reassess the things that were important. And, I've been lucky enough to do financially well over the course of, the 12 to 15 years that I've been working in corporate America. And I kind of just hit the pause button after I got laid off. And I was like, man, what, this is like a really
Yeah.
good inflection point in my life. Like, what do I want the next 30 to 40 years of my life to look like?
Right.
And I packed my Jeep. I loaded it up with a couple cameras and a shitload of film. And I drove all the way across the country and back about 6,600 miles. And I just realized that, the thing I want to do with my life is take pictures. And
Oh my gosh, that's so fun.
yeah, it was nice. I got a pretty generous, severance package when I got laid off, which was nice. So that afforded me the opportunity to kind of travel. And, although there was COVID and I couldn't go anywhere, I kind of just drove
Mhm.
everywhere, saw some national parks and saw some beautiful things and took a lot of amazing pictures. And I was like, this is what I want to do. So I've now gotten to the point where about a year and a half later, it's kind of all starting to come together
Oh, it
and
feels
fall
so
into
good, I
place.
bet.
Yeah, it does.
Yay.
I recorded a podcast that I haven't dropped yet called Happy But Discontent. And it's basically just me waxing poetic on the fact that I'm incredibly lucky and incredibly blessed. And I have such a wonderful life. And I'm so thankful and appreciative of it. I'm so happy. And I'm so discontent with where I'm at with so many things because I want to be doing so much more. And it's just like
I
this.
think so many people can relate to that though,
Oh, that's
and
so great to
I
hear.
think I think it's maybe our age range too. It's kind of like we all think we should be further along than we are, and then you're not alone. That's all
Oh,
I'm saying.
yeah, no, I appreciate that because I've had some conversations lately. Last week I spoke with Zach Jurgensen, who is a DIY wealth kind of person.
I know. I listened to that one.
Oh,
Just
great.
saying.
Yeah, he had spent his entire, 20s and 30s getting to a point of saving up $1 million, and you hit this kind of like, and now what point in your life? And I've reached that point. I'm beyond that point of the now what. And I'm blessed to have a great huge family with nieces and nephews, and all my friends have kids and all these wonderful things. But I'm not there just yet, and I'm not sure when I'll get there. But like there are so many other things that I have going for me positively. But it's just funny how you reach a point in your life where you're like, okay, cool, I got here, but what do I do
Mhm.
now?
Yeah. we're just on a different path. That's all.
Exactly. So tell me how kind of, from beauty sales manager to yoga instructor and kind of how the cancer diagnosis and your breast cancer battle has kind of impacted, your life over these last few years.
Yeah. So I fell in love with hot yoga just as a personal way of de-stressing. I used to travel a ton before COVID shut us all down. So
Mm-hmm.
I have a pretty large territory. I'm in Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, New
Oh,
Mexico,
wow.
Arizona. So I would travel constantly. I was gone all the time, like a road warrior, loved it. But then, everything halted and we had to find a way to stay busy and still stay connected from home.
Mm-hmm.
And, all the while, luckily, I was able to really get in my yoga, like every day, obsessed. And I thought, well, I still want to do this. Like, I would love to be an instructor. So on the side, during the downtime of COVID, I just did like a virtual online class. I haven't actually taught anything yet, but I finally finished it while I was off on leave after my mastectomy. So that would kind of fast forward us to finding, my breast cancer and kind of, my journey up until now. I think back in, oh, yeah, my dog.
Hello.
Back in May, I, found a lump, my daughter, and I was like, well, that's odd. And, I say to myself 10 years ago, if I was still a pre-husband single mom, didn't have a lot of money, I don't know if I would have initially just ran to the doctor to get
Mm-hmm.
myself checked. So I'm a big advocate of women being able to advocate for themselves and get themselves checked because
Totally.
we don't necessarily do that as often as we should. And you just listen to your body. And I was like, you know what, I should just get that checked because that's weird and that's different. I did. Immediately went for a mammogram. My doctor's like, yeah, get it checked. It might not be anything. And I'd just been having a conversation with my mom and my sister and my grandma at a little birthday lunch. And we had all talked about, the COVID shot was making people's, mammograms a little odd. And my
Oh.
mom was mentioning she had to like delay hers. And I said, well, I'm going to go get a mammogram because I've noticed something. And kind of just nonchalantly. I wasn't trying to like alert anybody. There's no history in my family, so it wasn't something on my radar like, oh, grandma, whatever, and
Mm-hmm.
auntie somebody has it. But since I had never done it before, I go in, mammogram, second mammogram, take me to another room. Hey, we're going to do a sonogram. Hey, we're going to do a call with a doctor, and then we want you to do a biopsy. To
Mm-hmm.
me, I'd never done any of these things. So I just thought it was all normal.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, once I did my biopsy, the doctor, the lady doing the procedure looked at me and was like, I'm not going to lie. I don't like what I see.
Mm-hmm.
They do this all day long. And so I was mentally prepared. That was back in May. So I found out in May. By July, I had a double mastectomy.
Wow.
And at first we thought, okay, well, caught it early. You're lucky. You're not going to have to do chemo or radiation. So that
Mm-hmm.
was like my whole story. I'm like, I'm lucky. I caught it early. I went on leave. And then, of course, after they do a biopsy after your initial surgery. And then that's when they were like, well, it was affected. We found it in a lymph node. So now you have to do chemo and then radiation. So I was really bummed at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But still, luckily, like you said, super blessed to have an amazing, I do work in corporate America. And that's the one beautiful thing is that I do have amazing benefits and short-term disability and, all of the things that a lot of people don't have. So very fortunate to have a big family that, hurdled around me and
That's
made me
amazing.
food and came and took care of me. And my sister's an ER nurse, so she was,
A
like
godsend.
all in my business. Yeah, like coming to check on me and helping, in my recovery. So I'm currently in week, I had to do 4 weeks of the real strong chemo. It's called the Red Devil.
Oh.
And I have a funny side note. Took my daughter to a like church carnival this weekend, and her and her best friend, they're 10, 11, they think they're cute. They dressed up as devils, and I just was really embarrassed. And someone asked us, I said, if anyone asks you what you are, you just say you are the red devil, my chemo that I had to take, because I wore like my bald head just proud. I don't wear uh, a wig lots of places, so I get
Hmm.
lots of stares. And when they look at me, I'm like, what are they staring at? And then I'm like, oh, I don't have any hair.
Yeah.
I just don't even think about it anymore. It's just not a thing. But it is kind of fun to try to sell hair products to people with no hair. So that's like a new twist.
Well, it's hard to speak from my firsthand
Yeah.
perspective,
Yeah.
right?
I'm like, but when I did have hair, this stuff is great. All right. But so I've done 4 rounds of the real nasty stuff, and now I'm on to I have 11 more of the, I guess they consider it the lighter, easier chemo. So
Yeah. Is that the pill version?
no, it's still, I
The
have a
drip.
port,
Okay.
so I go in every week, every Tuesday, and what's crazy, people don't realize you have to put your fingers and toes in ice cold water the
Oh,
entire time.
really?
Yeah, it's really lovely.
Why is that?
Um, it's for neuropathy, so
Oh,
that you don't, I guess it gets to your fingers and your toes. That's kind of the same reason like your hair falls out. Like those are the first things to go. It stops everything from growing.
oh wow.
So it's really crazy. Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. I didn't know that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so kind of talk to me about what that moment was like. I mean, you said you kind of mentally prepared yourself for the
Yeah, I
diagnosis,
didn't
but
cry.
really,
I think, yeah, I
I mean,
think
you
my
sound super
family,
chipper for a person going through
yes.
chemotherapy. Like you sound incredibly upbeat and like happy. So
I'm kind
I
of
love that.
disgustingly positive, and so, like my husband's the opposite of me, and we're just, it is what it is. I'm that like super positive, always looking at the bright side kind of person. Um, and like I said in the beginning, I thought, we caught it lucky and all those things. So yeah, I just thought, okay, this is my path. Like it is what it is. Like
Hmm.
you can't get, I don't know, you can't get mad at it. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't
Sure.
change anything. You can't look at it and go, okay, well, what if I was, because I'm super healthy, I'm super fit, do hot yoga like every day. So my cousin, who is, I love her, she says, of all people, it should have been me. She smokes, she's heavy, she eats red meat and cheese and loves whatever. And I don't eat meat, I don't eat cheese. I'm pretty much like healthy vegan, if you want to consider it, plant-based, all those, all the good things you're supposed to do. So
Right.
it just tells you, it just goes to show you, like, even those things, if you try to be as healthy as you can't fight nature and what's going to happen,
Oh, totally.
it's kind of your path.
Out of curiosity, are you religious? Do you have a pretty strong faith?
I would say
Religious
I
adjacent?
I was raised, you know, in church, and I would say I have faith, but I don't necessarily go to church anymore.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I send my kid to Sunday school, those kinds of, I send her to church camp and
Hmm.
allow her to make her decision. I would say I'm spiritual, and I still have um, a good connection, I would say, with,
Whatever it may be.
yes, with the end all be all.
I'm with you on that. I actually had my childhood priest on my podcast, and growing up in a Roman Catholic family, church was very much a weekly part of my life. And
Yes.
my biggest issue with religion, and we don't have to get into this, but it's just how it's not very inclusive, right? They're anti-gay marriage and abortion, like all these things that just are fundamentally ridiculous in 2021. And I just have
Yes.
I take offense to the fact that like a place that is preaching love is exclusionary of it to a certain number of people, which I just think is ridiculous.
Yeah.
The reason why I asked though is because you have an incredibly positive mindset about a diagnosis and a battle that you're going through right now. And I had the benefit of speaking with a gentleman by the name of Terry Tucker a few months back on one of my first podcasts, and he has been battling cancer for like 7 or 8 or 9 years. Like just like a plethora of I don't know if it was bone cancer. I can't quite remember, but has had
Yep, probably.
amputations and like a number of like trials and really, really just a hard battle that he's been going through for years and years. And he had the most positive outlook on everything. And it was primarily due to his faith. And blind faith like that is kind of tough when you're going through a struggle like that. Like, and
Yeah.
I was very curious what your kind of relationship with religion was, because, it is a very simple feeling to be like, whoa, what the fuck? Why me?
Yeah. You will, I think anybody could really go down that darker path and just be like mad and angry, but that's usually not my first instinct. And
Uh,
it's interesting to think that, like, I would say my faith as a child, or my religion as a child was Methodist. It's like, I guess my husband calls it Catholic adjacent because there's a lot of like, communion and Catholic ways,
mhm.
but we weren't like, and he grew up like Baptist fire and brimstone. So it's
Oh,
funny to relate, or like I'll say something and it's like we just have real different ways of our
dealing with things.
religion shaped us. It's really interesting. Like, ooh, no wonder you no wonder you were frightened. Like, mine was definitely not the same experience as he had. So it's just
That's
interesting.
that is interesting. What does something like a cancer diagnosis do for like your life planning, right? Like I would imagine, things are not going about as normal, right? You're no longer
Yes.
focusing on making lunch in the morning. You're like, whoa, okay, I've got to go chemo on Tuesday. And like, what does it kind of do to what you look at in terms of like your future? You're like, I'm about to turn
Like
40.
what's
Yeah.
important. Yeah. It definitely, and I think COVID did that to a lot of people, but then, add a cancer diagnosis in there, it definitely
Uh
makes
huh.
you go, is this what I really want to do? And
Mm.
and am I happy? And um all of the things. Um like I mentioned, I'm super thankful for the job that I have. And I really do enjoy it and love it because, but at the same time, I'm not able to do it to its full extent because I am immunocompromised at this point. So
Oh,
normally I can go out and see all my people, and that's what really kind of fills my cup is being able to talk and sell and see salons and see my customers. But being
it's
behind
tough. Yeah.
a screen, it's just not the same. It's not the same. So it's it's definitely, I don't know. It just kind of makes you think.
Yeah.
I'm definitely looking at my investments better. I'm like, how do we invest this money better? Because I, want to be able to retire and have,
Freedom.
some time off and not just do this till I'm 60, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up the "Are you happy?" question, because it's something that I ask people quite a bit on my podcast, because it goes back to the episode that I'm dropping soon, the "Am I happy but discontent" kind of situation. Are you happy?
Yeah,
Does
I
it
am.
depend on the day?
I think it does. I mean, if you asked me Tuesday, I would have been like, "Oh, this really
Sure.
sucks." But
Yeah.
that's my treatment day. But for the most part, we've just kind of went back into our normal daily routine. Like Mondays, my daughter has Girl Scouts every other week, and then Tuesday's my treatment, and then sometimes my mom will come over and like make me soup, and then she'll take my daughter to gymnastics the next night, and like it's become part of our routine that we're not really letting it get us
Dictate your
down.
life.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like, oh, I'm a cancer patient and then, I'm also a mom. It's like I'm not gonna,
I think that's
yeah,
like an incredibly powerful mindset. Like I would imagine it's not common, or perhaps it is, but I would imagine that there are not
yeah,
very many people who are going through chemotherapy who are like able to kind of compartmentalize things in that degree. And
yeah. I mean, I'm like the youngest by 20, 30 years when I'm in there. So, it makes me really grateful that I am a younger, healthier body to go through this as well. Because I can't imagine being, you know, any much older and
Sure.
having to fight it, because I think maybe my mental health would be differently.
Yeah.
I would think differently.
I think the one real great thing I think that came out of the last year and a half with COVID is like we're starting to have a little bit better of a conversation about mental health, and it's extremely hopeful. Like there was the Simone Biles stuff at the Olympics, and
Yeah.
like there's so much like positive kind of momentum behind having these kind of conversations, that like I'm super hopeful that like it kind of just keeps growing. But I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday because I had like one of those seasonal depression kind of days, and I was like, oh, it was dreary out, it was raining, I was like super unmotivated. I was like, man, nothing is going right, everything is wrong. I didn't get this job that I put in for. I didn't, like XYZ. It's like I'm just such a failure, right? And they're like, dude, like, come on. It's like you're just saying that because of what's going on outside of your control. I was like, look at where you've come from in
Yes.
the last year. And I think it's so easy to lose sight of like what we are so lucky to have, because there are so many like everyday blessings, but there is just such an easy way to kind of look beyond it.
Yeah. I mean, I think anybody can. I mean, it's our first instinct is to kind of go to the negatives. Like when your boss says, "Hey, do you have time to talk?" You immediately think like,
Oh
"Oh my
shit.
God, did I
Yeah.
not like do something right? There, I'm going to get in trouble." Like we didn't do anything wrong, but why does our mind just go to that negative
I
place
would love to
immediately?
know. I would love to know.
It's sickening, right? It's
Yeah.
just, but it's everyone. I don't think anyone is free of that. I don't really know a lot of people, even super positive people, that don't immediately go to that negative place. You just have to like try to be like, no, calm down, take a breath. That's not why they need to talk to you, and you know that.
Yeah, I will say, and I don't know if it's a common theme because I have interviewed quite a few people who do yoga pretty regularly, and I've very recently started doing more, and my friend Jessica Miller will be extremely happy to hear that. But like I started getting into meditation and yoga and starting every morning with like a 10-minute meditation and then like a 20-30 minute yoga session just in my apartment. Not crazy.
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
nowhere near flexible to do this in public. Like
Oh, but see, that's what I hate when people say is like, "Oh, I can't do this in public." I mean, if you can breathe, you can do yoga.
Lauren, I
And
appreciate
real
your
true
positivity.
yogis,
I
real
appreciate.
true yogis do not judge, like, because yoga is a journey.
Oh
Yoga
yeah.
is not just like, oh, one time, like you just know how to do it. You don't just go to the gym for the first time and know what you're doing there. Like, it's a long journey.
Yeah.
Like you're ever evolving. But I like to know that you're at least doing something. So good.
I am trying. No, but it's my point was ultimately that like I've noticed that in the last few weeks, like my mood has been significantly impacted by it. And I hate to say that because like I'm so not like this hippy dippy yoga,
Yeah.
bro dude who's like, yes, let's be very zen. Very much not who I am. I'm very much pour me a bourbon and let me watch a football game. But it has made a market improvement in my day-to-day life. And I'm wondering like how that kind of has impacted kind of like your last 6 months to a year. Like, do you think
Yes.
that the foundations that you have in yoga has kind of helped you shape your mindset towards this?
Oh, for sure, definitely. I mean, it allows you to just kind of calm that negative voice in your head. I like doing meditation at night to like allow me to fall asleep. One thing that I do religiously with my daughter every night, and we don't necessarily say our prayers, but we say what we're grateful for that day.
Love that.
And it can be as something as simple as the weather was beautiful, the sunset was gorgeous, that we just had a good day
Hmm.
overall. Like we had an okay day,
Yeah,
and that's
we got
something to
by.
be grateful for. So that is something that we love to do. And then if she's having a really hard time going to sleep, I'll walk through a meditation with her, or we'll do a guided meditation on just like an app or whatever. And man, we are out like a light. And I just find that I'm like a lot more relaxed
I love
for
it.
sure.
Honestly, I hate to be like admitting this to my millions of listeners out there, but it is like it has been a one of the funny little things, because for sure in my 20s I made fun of everyone who was doing yoga. I was like, come on
Of
guys,
course.
what are we
Oh,
doing here?
crunchy people. Yeah.
Exactly.
Crunchy
Get rid of
people.
the granola, get it out of my face. And now I'm like throwing my tights on in the morning, I'm bending over and like it's just very funny. I often talk about how like in my childhood and in high school and college, you're like always like forecasting your life out, right? So it's like I've got to do well this year in sports, so next year I can get a good offer to play college football,
Hmm.
or I got to do good on the SAT so I can get to a good college, so I can get a good job. So like we're always looking forward and not necessarily being super present. Talk
Yes.
to me kind of about how like a breast cancer diagnosis and kind of all that is encompassing with that can kind of shape your mindset for not just the present, but like kind of how you look at your future.
Yeah, it definitely makes you grateful for, your time on this earth, that you're breathing and you're halfway healthy,
Yeah.
and if you whether or not you have a cancer diagnosis or not, like it's it's definitely something kind of stops you in your tracks and makes you reevaluate things and go, you know what, I'm gonna take that trip. I'm going to um, go on that vacation. I'm gonna stop
I'm going to
scrolling
eat
on my
that
phone so
cupcake.
much. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm gonna just kind of make the time
Matter.
worth it,
Yeah.
and not just kind of just go day to day and, just kind of roll with the punches. So, um, yeah, I think it just kind of just makes you grateful for everything you do have and making the time worthwhile
Yeah. I love that.
with
Yeah.
the ones you love,
Yeah.
I mean,
Valuable lesson. Like especially one
don't
that,
waste your time on things that you don't like doing,
yeah.
is basically, like if you don't like doing that, don't do it. Like,
Yeah.
don't waste your time and don't try to be something you're not for other people. Because I
Absolutely.
think we tend to spread ourselves too thin sometimes. I personally know that I do it as a mom, as a ADHD, ADD person. It's unfortunately what we do, but you have to just go, no, I don't want to, I can't do that. Overextending ourselves sometimes is tough too.
Yeah. And we're just so much at the whim of like the device in our hand, like the impression
Mhm.
that we get from how many likes we get on an Instagram post and like shit like that. It sucks. I've very very frequently talked about how like I've learned so many valuable life lessons in like the last 5 years of my life, and I genuinely wonder if I could have become this version of myself in my 20s. And
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that I could have. I've got a lot of these conversations with people revolve around some saying yes, some saying no, but I think life is like, and when I say life, I mean the getting to the point of like comfort in your skin, like being able to be appreciative of who you are, and what you want to be, takes time. And I don't think like
Yes.
20, 25 years is enough time for you to get to that point.
No.
And I could be wrong, and maybe some people are lucky enough to get to that point, but I certainly
No,
wasn't
I
one of
agree.
them.
I joke with like 20 somethings, and even I say the 30s. 30s are where you really get comfortable in your own skin and confident in who you are. I think it does take time, and I think it'll probably even just get better and better. I
Mhm.
think my mom always said like her 30s were her favorite. So
Yeah, they're
she always still says like I feel like I'm still 30. Like I look at my body and I'm like, well, that doesn't look like me, but she still thinks that's like her prime.
I'm so
So
glad to hear that, because I'm a former writer. I wrote about relationships and stuff on the internet, and like life and these soulmates and like purpose and like all these things. And it's funny because I don't think when I was writing those things in my 20s, I really put much thought or much context into what I was doing. It was just kind of like me looking for an outlet to like going through the things that were
yeah, I
happening.
bet.
Right.
Yeah.
But like now I get it. Like I kind of, I don't waste my time talking to someone in a dating capacity if I'm not getting the energy or like the things that I need, right? It's like you start
Absolutely.
understanding your own self-worth, whether it be in a job, a relationship, a marriage, whatever it might be. Like you start to understand your own worth, and it's such a wonderful fucking freeing feeling that
Oh, it feels so good.
so
Yes.
good. So
Hmm.
good.
For sure. For
Um
sure.
so growing up in Texas, like I'm just kind of curious. So like you got into like beauty and beauty care products and sales and like everything that you're doing now, like as a sales manager and your yoga side hustle, and obviously the number one most important job being a mom. But what was like your dream? Like, what did you want to be when you grew up, like as a kid?
Oh my gosh. I think I used to say I wanted to be an artist, which
Oh,
I have no art skills. Like I'm horrible. So I think my mom even said on the first day of school, I came home crying because I didn't have art. I mean, I like painting. I like the idea of it. And I'm like jealous of people who have that creative bone. I
hmm,
think I always wanted it. So, I know it sounds crazy, but I think I wanted to be an artist and I have no talent in that. So I've put my kids in, music because I enjoy it and I want them to have some kind of just something that they can take away in life. Um, but I never really had like this one thing that I wanted to be. I don't know. I even asked my kids that, like, what do you want to be? And I think it's a hard question for kids
yeah.
because
It's unfair to ask a
there's
kid that.
there's so many things that they want to be. And, I think, oh, and then one thing I think I embarrassed my mom one time is they asked us what we wanted to be. And I said, I want to be a waitress, just like my mom. And she was, she hustled as mom of five and she had to be, like a cocktail waitress at some point in her life while also, you know, doing makeup at Dillard's for Clinique. So she was horrified when I said I wanted to be a waitress, but I just think that's a funny story. So,
That's like a mom thing, right? You want your kids to
yeah.
do better and more than whatever it was that
Yes,
you feel like you did or didn't do.
absolutely.
And I know so much about that because I'm a mother of three beautiful. I'm just kidding. I have no kids.
Yeah.
When you kind of look at like where your life is at now, and we're coming through hopefully the ending of like what's been like an absolute shit show of like almost 2 years. What are you like looking forward to most, like in terms of the world going back to normal? Like, what are you, besides travel? Because I know you said travel a bunch, but like,
Oh, yeah, I was about to say, already planning next year's travel according to my, work schedule.
yeah,
But I am looking forward to uh, work travel as well. So I know it's kind of counterintuitive. I'm talking about travel, but it's it's just kind of back to our norm again
yeah,
because like that human connection, I think that's really what it is. It felt really good. Like today I was able to go have like a breakfast meeting with a couple of my customers. I don't even know if we really got much accomplished other than the fact that we just wanted to like see each other and
uh,
kind of start planning for 2022. And it was just, I mean, we could have easily had that call or whatever
hmm,
instead of a meeting, but it just meant so much more that we were able to see each other in person, talk, see each other's reactions when we're, having a conversation about, whatever is going to be going forward. So it's those kinds of human connection conversations and in-person interactions
yeah. No,
that I think I personally miss because I'm a Gemini and at one point during the COVID time, we live on a lake and there's a little cove and I would sit on my back porch with my computer, beautiful day, and there'd be fishermen. And it would take everything out of me not to be like, hi, y'all catching anything? What are y'all doing? How's it going? Is it a good day? And my husband's like, Lauren, do not talk to those poor fishermen. They're fishing in your, like in behind the house. Leave them alone. And I would wave and be like, hi guys, good day out there. He's
That's
like,
so
leave the
funny.
fishermen alone. He goes, I didn't realize this is hard for you. I said, yes, this is really hard for me.
So explain
You,
to me
I
the
need humans.
what is the Gemini have like so I did
We're
literally this.
very social people. You need to
uh
look into like, you
oh,
know,
I'm so it's funny you say that. Someone did send me my what is it, birth chart. Like someone asked me what time were you born, where were you born, that
yes,
kind of thing. When
yes,
the meme that says you need to run from those people. Thankfully this was
yes.
my friend.
I was about to say that. Was it a girl? Were
It
they
was. It's a friend
dating
though.
them?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
not a romantic thing, but I haven't read it yet. But I find this stuff wildly interesting. But because I am a Sagittarius and I am, from what every ex girlfriend has ever told me, the quintessential Sagittarius man, which
Mhm.
I think is fine. But I don't necessarily want to believe or think that because I was born on a certain day in a
Yeah,
certain
that you're
month.
predisposed
Yeah.
predisposed to be exactly this way. Yeah.
I don't know how that makes
Um,
me feel.
yeah, it's interesting because
It
I
is very
it's
interesting.
well, my husband and I met. It was, of course, online. We like to joke that it was at the grocery store. And I messaged him first, and in his profile, it said, "Do not contact me if you are a Gemini." And
Oh
I
my
thought that
God.
was hilarious as a Gemini, and I contacted him.
And the rest is
Um,
history.
and the rest is history. His ex-wife is a Gemini, his daughter's a Gemini, his like best guy friend is Gemini. He is surrounded and he cannot like come out from it. Like he obviously attracts them. So it's just a funny story we like to tell people because
I feel the
I
same way about Cancer women.
hmm
I will never ever 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 ever
well,
ever
you say that now. I bet you're gonna get married to a woman.
fuck no. Too many really solid
Just
debilitating
no,
life lessons.
no, just no.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you'll just have to look up. Geminis are kind of double two-sided. Like they say that there's like, my middle name's my old middle name, Marie, and then I put my maiden name. So my husband are like, is this Marie or is this Lauren? That sort of a thing. We can be, just if you look up a lot of celebrities are Geminis. Like
Hmm.
we're good with people talking, that sort of thing. So
That I could
I
see.
did a I did a not a horoscope. I did a like a reading my palms one time, and you go to the lady and she doesn't know anything about you. She can't look you up on like online or anything. She can't Google you. You just give them your first name and that's it. And she's like, you're in like a shiny beauty. And like, I mean, she nailed it. It was really creepy. She's like, this is like the job you're meant to do. And a lot of people that are in, the shiny things
Yeah.
is what she said.
That
And
stuff
it
freaks
is.
me
That's
out
what
too
we do.
though.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And I asked her, I said, "Are you religious?" Because like sometimes it feels like it could be like a dark thing. And
Yeah.
she said, "Oh, absolutely. I don't think that I would have the power to know if I wasn't." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Ooh,
So,
interesting.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it was
I've
interesting.
had two experiences with like a psychic and or medium, and I found them both to be, I would say, borderline therapeutic, but also like kind of freaky. Like, you
Yeah.
shouldn't be able to tell me these things. Like, it's just very cool, also very alarming.
Yeah. Yes, for sure, for sure.
I think I've gotten super good lately in like my life of being like super appreciative of like all of like the beauty that there is around life. Like, I kind of obviously stumbled into this photography career, but it's like so easy for me to get inspired to like make beautiful pictures because like I've got access to so many wonderfully talented human beings like at the touch of a button. What
Yes.
kind of like inspires you in life? Like, what kind of fills you up and makes you happy?
Man, that's a good one. I would definitely say like my kids. I know it sounds
Hmm,
cheesy, but
that's okay.
spending time with my family and um I mean that's just kind of what we do and we everything is around like going on vacation together or doing things together, quality time and yeah, nature. I've fell in love with just sitting on my back porch and watching the birds. I mean, during COVID, you notice a lot more birds. So I'm like, I have a bird book now, kind of nerdy, and I'm looking up what these are. And during quarantine, we even saved a little not a blue jay, a red cardinal.
Oh wow.
He flew into our window and had like an injured wing and he was just chilling on our back porch for like several hours. And I thought, okay, we got to take him. So we did. We took him, and they said, oh, he just has an injured wing. We're going to give him a shot. And then, I said, well, I want to release him back to my where I live because he's on my bird feeder like every single day.
Mhm.
And then they told us that, the birds, the male birds, the male red birds actually teach the young to sing. And I just thought that was so cool.
Oh
And he
wow.
sang to us the whole way home, like once
Oh,
he got fixed. He sang in the car, I have video of him. And then we released him and he went right to his little tree that we always see him in. And so, yeah, it's just, I think it's a really cool, very like it, feet to the ground, quiet, no phone, just listen to the birds and sit outside in nature. So
yeah.
I really enjoy kind of connecting in that way. Being by the water is very. therapeutic for me.
Yeah, I love that. I've noticed as time goes on, the less and less time I spend on my phone, the happier and happier my days tend to be filled.
Hmm.
Sad reality and truth. I like to spend the last bit of every one of my podcast episodes kind of doing like a rapid fire. Some are easy, some are kind of heavy, question and answer.
Sure.
Feel no pressure. Take your time. This is not a big deal.
Okay.
What is your favorite book?
I don't read.
Okay, fair
I
enough.
hate reading, so no
Okay,
books.
next question. Favorite movie?
Oh, I would say like Clueless or any of the Happy Gilmore and
Oh,
the funny Adam Sandler, just the cheesy, funny, careless movies.
love that. What's your favorite food?
Ooh, Thai food.
Anything in particular, or just
Sushi,
any?
any
Yeah,
Asian. Yeah. I would say Pad Ki Mao or Pad Thai. Like I want to go to Thailand really bad. So
nice. Do you believe in an afterlife?
yes and no. I'm still like I'm hopeful that there is something, but at the same time, I'm at peace knowing like maybe there's not, and that's okay.
Yeah, I like that answer. I I would say I was like the biggest cynic asshole for the vast majority of my life, and then I kind of started thinking that like there would be genuinely no purpose to life if there's not something kind of cool after. So
Yeah,
feel free to adopt that as your mantra because I think
yeah,
that's
I
like
like
I'm using that to like make myself feel better about
make
what it.
yourself feel better. Exactly. Yes.
So yeah, that's my thing. What are you most proud of?
Just like where I am now, I would say just to, I have an awesome house, kids, a great job, just on a good path, and I'm just a happy person, I would say.
Nice.
Also,
I
just
love that.
being happy in what you do.
What gives you confidence?
Oh, hmm, I don't know, honestly. I would say time, over time, you just start to kind of gain your own confidence. You go through situations in life that, just kind of makes you grow and learn and appreciate what you have.
Hmm, that's
Appreciate your body and
yeah,
everything that's gone through. I think that's where I'm at with, going through cancer and having kids. You're like, dang, I can endure this. That's pretty awesome.
yeah. That is very awesome. I agree. How do you get over like regrets? Like something that you look back on, you're like, oh fuck, why did I do that?
I that's hard. I would say, man, I don't know. I think you have to give yourself grace and forgiveness.
Oh,
It's hard to do that, but you can't just be, you can't be mad at yourself. Like it was a time and a place, and you're a different person then. You just have to give yourself
I,
grace and forgiveness.
I think I'm gonna steal that. Give yourself grace and forgiveness. That's very good. I like that. That's good. What's the like best piece of advice someone's ever given you?
Oh, I know it sounds terrible, but I don't know. I don't think anyone's given me any, any great advice.
What's your best piece of
Oh, you know
advice?
what? You know what? I know what it is. I think my dad said this to me like as a kid, because kids talk a lot. You gotta talk less and listen more.
Yeah, 2 ears, one mouth for a reason, right?
Yes.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
dad.
And I think, as a kid, you're running your mouth, but I find that I have to do that with my daughter sometimes. I think we tend to cut people off and not let people want to be heard,
Oh
period.
yeah, totally.
You know?
I've also found that I think getting older. So like I'm, Sagittarius, obnoxious, loud. We never shuts up. But I think like one of the great joys in life is listening to people and
Mhm.
the power that you give to them when you're an intent, concentrated listener. Like when you can make
Yes.
someone feel like the things that they're saying are important and they're heard. I think that gives someone, a boost, a little juice I know when I'm talking and explaining something about how I feel or about a photo that I took something and someone has a meaningful exchange back with me after it. I was like, wow, they get what I was like saying or
Right.
thinking or
You're
feeling.
validated.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
love that.
For sure.
Last question. What is one recommendation that you have for everyone listening today? Something that you've like consumed lately, whether it's a podcast, a book, well, obviously not a book, but a movie, a TV show.
I like audiobooks.
Oh,
I like
okay.
audiobooks.
That
I just don't
counts.
want to. I get too distracted and it's too hard. So I love The Office. So there's a really
Yeah.
fun like Office podcast that they go over every episode if you're an Office fan. It's really fun, light listening. Um, I I'm trying to think of else I would recommend. I mean, for me personally, I would recommend doing something you've always wanted to do. Like whatever it is, to do it, don't wait, do it.
Yeah.
If you want to be the yoga instructor, find a way to, do it.
Mm-hmm.
If it's, you want some kind of certification, go do it. And I know, and I'm saying this from example because I did it for myself. And even now in my sales role, if I want to, get some more knowledge or want to move up, like there are so many tools on the internet. You just have to search it and go for it. Like now's the time. I feel like there's kind of this revolution, people like really taking charge and going for things that they didn't feel like they should or could
Oh,
before, like yourself,
you're speaking my language. I think
Yeah.
so much of our lives are scheduled. So much of the things that we think we're able to do are predetermined, or we feel as if are predetermined.
Yeah, we're
And
like, we'll do it later, or it's in our path down the line. But
yeah,
why? Like, why
yeah.
can
Why
we not
wait?
simultaneously do all of these things? Like, I know sometimes we could stretch ourselves thin and don't do that. But, I mean, if you're bored at night, like if you were to start the podcast, start the podcast.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm glad you said that because like I've gotten that a lot. Like, oh John, like it's so cool. Like you're doing photography. You started a podcast. Like how'd you do that? I was like, I don't know. I bought a microphone. Like that's how I did it. Like I bought
yes.
a camera. Like if there's something that you want to do and you've always wanted to do it, or something recent that you've learned that you want to do, just fucking do it. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
don't rob a bank, but like there are plenty of
Right.
positive things that you can do, and it doesn't take as much
Yes.
effort as you can imagine. I think
No.
people are so
And it's
afraid to
super
fail.
fulfilling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
People are so afraid to
Mm-hmm.
fail because we're just caught up in this like feedback loop of how many likes we get on things and what other people think of what we're doing, and we
Yeah.
don't spend nearly enough time concentrating on the things that make us happy. And I think that's not the
Absolutely.
best way to live.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Oh, Lauren, thank you so much for the conversation today. I am so great and so greatly appreciative of this time that we shared. I just had so much fun getting to know you, and I've become such a big fan of yours in such a short period of time. And obviously, you have so much going for you, and you're just such a light. And I'm so grateful that we were able to connect. And I have a cheesy line. I will admit that every time someone comes on my podcast, they're part of my family now. So
No,
welcome,
I love that.
welcome to the family.
Yes.
I'm so happy that we were able to meet. I'm very hopeful for your battle with cancer. I have no doubt that you're going to kick its ass.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for your time today.
Yes. No, thank you so much. If you could see me, I have a big old smile on my face. This was a pleasure. And I just appreciate your time as well, because I know that, the behind the scenes things that people don't know what you have to do and all the editing and all the process, that's the tough part. So, recording it is the easy thing. I just got the easy job. So I appreciate you doing the rest.
No problem. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.